Welcome to the Oregon Statewide Assessment System training module for the statewide summative tests in English Language Arts and Mathematics. This module is a required part of annual training for all district and school test coordinators, as well as OSAS, ELA, and Math test administrators. The topics covered in this module include a brief overview of key elements of the OSAS, ELA, and Math tests, updates for the current school year, scheduling considerations, appropriate administration, and available resources to support testing. References to specific sections of Oregon's Test Administration Manual and the Oregon Accessibility Manual are included within slides where applicable. These resources are also hyperlinked at the end of this presentation. We encourage you to bookmark these in your browser for future reference, as well as the ODE Student Assessment homepage. Before we begin, here is a helpful list for your reference of acronyms that you will find in these slides. Topic 1. Key elements of the OSAS, ELA, and Math tests. The learning goal for this section is for test administrators to understand the key features of each test. Both the OSAS, ELA, and Math tests consist of two components, a computer adaptive test, or CAT, and a performance task, or PT. The ELA CAT consists of approximately 25 items across all grade levels. The ELA performance task consists of one research item and one writing extended response or full write composition. The Math CAT consists of approximately 20 items. Starting in grade 6, the CAT includes two segments, one where a calculator is allowed and one where it is not. Be sure to check out ODE's ELA and Math assessment web pages for more specifics on OSAS test design and blueprints. The OSAS, ELA, and Math tests are adaptive, which means the question difficulty adjusts as the student works through the test, providing either easier or more difficult items based on correct and incorrect student responses. Students will interact with different items, such as multiple choice, where there's a single correct response, multiple select, where there are multiple correct responses, hot text, or text highlighting, drag and drop, matching items, and other table interactions. Some items are technology enhanced or enabled to allow students to enter an equation or create a graph. For more information about item types, please refer to the resources section later in this module. The OSAS ELA test combines 4 elements, or claims, of literacy into one test: reading, writing, listening, and research. Students will receive an overall score and claim scores for reading and writing. Listening items will require each student to have headphones. In the performance task, students will write an extended essay that often spans multiple test sessions. Be sure to check the Oregon Accessibility Manual for specific allowable supports. The OSAS Math test also combines 4 areas, or claims, of mathematics into one test. Claim 1 is concepts and procedures, Claim 2 is problem solving, Claim 3 is communicating reasoning, and Claim 4 is modeling and data analysis. Claim 1 items assess Oregon's math content standards. Items in Claims 2 through 4 assess Oregon's math practice standards. Students will receive an overall score and a Claim 1 score. Schools and districts will have access to all claim and target level data for program evaluation and planning. Again, please check the Oregon Accessibility Manual for specific allowable supports. Desmos calculators are an embedded support within some math items in grades 6 through 8 and grade 11. In grade 6, a 4-function calculator is available. In grades 7 and 8, a scientific calculator. And in grade 11, a fully featured graphing calculator. More information about the specific functionality of these calculators can be found on the Desmos website at www.desmos.com/testing/Oregon. Note that the OSAS science tests use the same embedded calculators as those used on the OSAS math test. Topic 2, OSAS, ELA, and Math Test Updates. By the end of this section, test administrators should be able to describe the updates to the OSAS, ELA, and math tests for the current school year. Beginning in the 2024-25 school year, students who utilize the text-to-speech or American Sign Language supports will notice that the icons which activate these supports are now available outside the context menu within an item. This increases the visibility and accessibility of these support features for students who need them. Test administrators should be sure to train students in this user interface change prior to testing. Note that the context menu still includes several universal tools and other test features which may be helpful to students. In recent years, ODE has received numerous requests to reopen student tests that were accidentally submitted rather than paused. This interrupts and prolongs students' testing experience and often requires additional test sessions to be planned for students to complete their test once it's reopened. To support a more efficient testing experience, ODE has updated the student test directions to include a caution when students pause the ELA PT before completing their full write portion. Test administrators should use the sample and training tests in the OSAS portal to help students become familiar with the testing interface prior to testing. The OSAS math tests are increasingly aligned with the 2021 Oregon K-12 math standards. This means that all OSAS summative math items have been reviewed, and the OSAS math test blueprints have been updated across all grades. Items that no longer align with Oregon standards have been removed from the item pool, and data reasoning items have been added at all grade levels for field testing in 2024-25. On OSAS math test blueprints, target names are now consistent with the cluster labels in Oregon's math standards, and priority and supporting targets align with the focus areas. No changes have been made to the total number of items on a student's test, nor is there any expected change to estimated testing times. Oregon's training tests have been updated to include a data reasoning item so students can practice before taking their statewide summative test. Be sure to visit ODE's Math Assessment webpage for full details. Topic 3, Scheduling. By the end of this section, test coordinators and test administrators should understand the information that will help them ensure that all students have sufficient time to complete the OSAS, ELA, and math tests. ODE has developed test windows to provide districts with flexibility in scheduling and managing the logistics of test administration. Within these statewide dates, schools may set shorter school-level test windows. Federal and state laws require that at least 95% of all students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 participate in state testing in ELA and math each school year. The statewide test windows for the current school year are shown here. Please note that schools are responsible for testing all students enrolled on the first school day in May. Students who enroll after the first school day in May will not be included in the school's accountability calculations. However, they may still be tested. The complete list of OSAS test windows can be found in Appendix A of the TAM. More information about school-level test windows can be found in Training Module 1 and Section 5.2 of the TAM. Here are some general guidelines and recommended practices for scheduling the OSAS, ELA, and math tests. The test should be given on separate days, and students should finish one before starting the other. It's recommended, but not required, that the CAT be administered first. Neither the OSAS, ELA, nor math tests are timed, meaning students should be allowed to continue working as long as they are making progress. However, schools should use the average testing times in Section 5.1 of the TAM to guide local planning and maximize instructional time. Estimated testing times can be helpful in planning the length of test sessions. This table reflects the approximate time it will take most students to complete the specified test at each grade level based on the previous year's statewide administration. Note that these times are estimates to be used for planning purposes only. Actual student testing times may vary. As in previous years, ODE will continue to provide grade 12 ELA and math testing options. While grade 12 participation is not mandatory for accountability, districts should make the option available for those students who wish to participate for college placement purposes. Reference the HEC College Course Placement Policy on this slide for more information. ODE continues to provide a grade 10 Challenge Up option. The option to take the grade 11 assessment is only available to grade 10 students who have completed advanced coursework in their respective ELA and/or math content area. The decision to challenge up should be made with the student and their family. Participation during a student's grade 10 year is not required, even if the student has successfully completed advanced coursework. If a grade 10 student successfully meets the high school achievement standard, the score will be banked and reported in the student's grade 11 year. If the student does not meet the high school achievement standard, the student must retest in their grade 11 year or they will be counted as a non-participant. Topic 4, Administration. By the end of this section, test administrators should understand the basic guidelines for test administration, which ensure equitable access for all students. This slide begins a list of administration guidelines. First, ensure that the test administrator has activated the assessment for the correct content area. Second, all instructional visuals, stimuli, and posters must be removed from the physical testing environment. And third, test administrators should have read the approved directions from the test administration manual before beginning the test. Test coordinators and test administrators should ensure that all embedded designated supports and accommodations are set in TIDE for students who should have access. An embedded feature is one that is delivered in the secure browser as part of the testing interface. An example of an embedded designated support is Spanish presentation for a student's math test. An example of an embedded accommodation is text-to-speech for the ELA CAT. As a reminder, accommodations require documentation in a student's IEP or Section 504 plan. Decisions around both designated supports and accommodations are to be made with the student's school support team, the student themselves, and the student's family. Similarly, test administrators should make available any non-embedded universal tools and/or designated supports for students who need them. A non-embedded feature is one that exists outside of the testing interface. An example of a non-embedded universal tool is Scratch Paper. An example of a non-embedded designated support is the use of math manipulatives, and a non-embedded accommodation is the use of a scribe. Finally, we offer a caution. Historical data shows that adult-initiated behaviors are the leading cause of reported test improprieties. Ensuring that all test administrators in your school and district are consistent in these administration practices will greatly reduce the risk of test improprieties and, at worst, invalidated student tests. Scratch Paper is a non-embedded universal tool available to all students. Scratch Paper may be securely retained between testing sessions for the performance task, but it may not be retained for the CAT. If retained between test sessions, test administrators must direct students to write their names or some appropriate identifying information on their Scratch Paper, then collect and inventory the Scratch Paper at the end of the test session. Retained Scratch Paper must be kept in a securely locked room or cabinet that can only be opened by authorized staff. When students have completed and submitted their test, all retained Scratch Paper should be securely shredded. Another universal tool available to all students is the ability for tests to be paused. When a student selects the pause button on the screen, they will get a warning message to verify that they want to pause their test. Students should take care not to accidentally submit their test when they intend to pause. If an ELA or Math CAT is paused for fewer than 20 minutes, a student may review questions they've already answered. If an ELA or Math CAT is paused for 20 minutes or more, a student may not review or change questions they've already answered. If a test is active but idle for over 20 minutes, the system will automatically pause the test and log the student out. There are no pause restrictions for either the ELA or math performance tasks. If a PT is paused for 20 minutes or more, the student can return to the section they were in and continue entering their response. Please note, however, that students may not navigate between Segment 1 and Segment 2 on the ELA PT. Finally, tests can only be active for 20 days after they have been started. After this, they expire and their contents are scored as they appear. Topic 5, Resources. In this final topic, we share additional resources that can help prepare test administrators and students for statewide testing. There are two different practice tests available through the OSAS portal. First is the training test, which is aligned to grade bands. Training tests include 6 to 9 questions and are designed to allow students to try out embedded tools and supports, as well as to interact with each of the different item types. In ELA, training tests are available for grades 3 through 5, grades 6 through 8, and high school. For math, training tests are available in grades 3 through 5, grade 6, grades 7 through 8, and high school. The second is the sample test, which is aligned to specific grades. Sample tests provide students and educators a look at the grade-specific operational assessment. Sample tests include approximately 30 items that vary in difficulty. Scoring guides for the sample tests are available on the OSAS portal under the Resources label. Both training and sample tests include all embedded universal tools, designated supports, accommodations, and language supports. To most effectively use training and sample tests, it's helpful to consider their purpose. Use the training test if you want to familiarize students with how to navigate the test, including universal tools and embedded supports. Also, use the training test to help students learn how to interact with each of the different item types. Use the sample test if you want students to interact with specific grade level items, or if you want students to experience items across all claims. Several documents outline the structure of the OSAS ELA and math tests. Links to access these resources are provided at the end of this module. Educators should spend time looking at these materials to inform how they prepare students to be successful on the tests. Test blueprints indicate the number of items included on each test, how each test is scored, and the depth of knowledge intended to be used by students when answering items. Content specifications list all assessment targets within each claim, as well as the ELA or math standards aligned with those targets. Finally, item specifications provide task models and appropriate stems for each item type, and are broken out by grade level, claim, and target. One final key resource within Oregon's statewide assessment system is data access. As a test administrator, you have access to summative and interim assessment data through the Centralized Reporting System, or CRS, in the OSAS portal. CRS provides educators access to individual student-level results as well as to aggregated system-level data for each assessment target. Cross-sectional reports show the performance of schools and districts on specific assessment targets over time, allowing educators to determine targets that are strengths and targets that are opportunities for growth. District test coordinators, school test coordinators, and test administrators have access to these reports and can use them in their collaboration and professional learning. District test coordinators may also create accounts for non-test administrators to access district or school level data. Here is a list of linked resources that have been referenced throughout this training module. First, the OSAS portal links to all components of the assessment system, including training and sample tests and the reporting system. Second, you can get more information on test blueprints, test design, assessment targets, and the number of items from each claim by visiting the ELA and Math assessment websites. Finally, the Test Administration Manual and Oregon Accessibility Manual provide technical support for districts, schools, and educators. This is an optional point in the required training to pause and discuss the questions provided here or a locally developed set of questions. If you would like to pause, please do so now. This concludes the required OSAS ELA and Math test training module. Thank you for your time and attention.